Baik, kita akan teruskan dengan perkembangan seterusnya di mana Jabatan Perangkaan mengunjurkan Malaysia menjadi sebuah negara tua pada 2023 dengan lebih 15% populasi berusia 60 tahun ke atas. Lantas timbul persoalan mengenai langkah yang perlu untuk menangani isu-isu masa depan termasuk pengurusan bakat. Sempena Bulan Kebangsaan Malaysia-Singapura ketiga ini, ikuti laporan khas yang dibawakan rakan tugas Ifan Faruqi menjengah pengalaman Singapura menangani isu yang sama.
Di titik merah kecil di atas hamparan Atlas, terletaknya ekonomi dengan nilai lebih 500 bilion US dollar yang juga antara 30 ekonomi utama dunia. Ia merupakan tuan rumah kepada pelabuhan laut paling besar dan kedua paling sibuk di dunia, mengendalikan hampir 40 juta kontena 20 kaki TEU pada 2023. Dalam persaingan membina pusat data mega dalam perlumbaan digitalisasi, Singapura mengoperasikan lebih 70 pusat data antara hub terbesar dunia. Walau bagaimanapun, setiap kebanggaan ini berdepan cabaran yang berkemungkinan mampu menamatkan riwayat Singapura. Pada 2024, Singapura melaporkan kadar kelahiran 0.97 bayi bagi setiap wanita, menjadikannya antara 10 negara paling rendah kelahiran baharu. Lebih parah apabila republik tersebut menjangkakan menjelang 2030, 1 dalam 4 rakyatnya sudah menjangkau usia emas.
The longevity of our society is about 85 years old. Half of us are going to live up to 84, 85. So, but then the problem is the health adjusted life expectancy, HALE they call it, is about 74. That means although you live up to 84, for 10 years of your life you go in and out of hospital. So we have two problems to solve. Number one is you're going to live longer. If you live longer and you retire at 55, you have another 30 years to live without income. That's one. But more importantly, you're going to live without purpose.
So in this case, with the aging population, that's the reason why we increased GST. So we increased GST by 2 percentage points because we wanted to be ready for when our population reaches 2030 and 1 in 4 or 25% of our population is going to be age 65 and above. So you can see we've raised the GST rate earlier, ahead of 2013. That will give us some time to build up the revenue for that and then be able to deal with that.
Mendepani kerungsingan ini, laporan Forward SG dikeluarkan dengan memberi tumpuan kepada memastikan pembangunan ekonomi yang mampan, seterusnya menjamin masa depan warga Singapura untuk meneruskan lembaran hidup di usia emas.
The first is a shift towards community-based care, where we want to go upstream into the population, intervene where people are in the community rather than an institutional response. So we have to continue with, keeping the EDs and the operating theatres and the hospitals running and make sure that they are doing well and best in class. But the additional investments, the resources, the development that we want to see in place are very much about community-based practice.
Dalam konteks industri, perbincangan dan kebimbangan lain turut berbangkit. Tiada tenaga kerja baharu, tenaga kerja sedia ada semakin tua dan timbul persoalan mengenai siapa yang akan mengisi kekosongan jawatan yang akan ada. Antara solusi yang digarap Singapura ialah keyakinan bahawa teknologi akan mengubah lanskip pekerjaan, seterusnya mengubah lanskip tenaga berkemahiran yang diperlukan yang tidak semestinya terbatas kepada had usia semata-mata. Lebih daripada itu, Singapura tidak hanya lihat ke dalam, sebaliknya sedia membuka sempadannya untuk bakat luar.
So one way to address decline population, not the only way, is to also allow some inputs, some intakes from other countries. But then in Singapore, we also want to make sure that the core of our population are still Singaporeans. It must be so. Because then you understand, then it's natural for people who are of Singapore descent to then learn to love and to live for the country, right? But migrants also can do that, usually in the second generation. By the second generation, they will start to assimilate. They start to forget where they come from. They don't want to go back to their families because this is a better place and where their friends are. So we have both the incentives, structures to support families and procreation, but we also have And on another part of our population management, also to allow talents to come in, to allow them to be assimilated and then over time become citizens too.
Always, as an economy as a whole, going to require non-Singaporean people to be here to work. I mean, 1/3 of our workforce is non-Singaporean. How much of that is tech talent? Well, it varies. Every industry requires tech talent, and the technology industry itself also requires talent. So you will find that structurally we continue to rely on foreign manpower, and likely will do for some time. That has been the case for us, not just for Infocom, technology and communication, every industry. And
walaupun zahirnya Singapura terbuka kepada semua bakat asing, pintu yang dibuka tidak seluas yang disangka. Ini kerana akhirnya bakat tempatan sentiasa diberikan keutamaan. Singapura menguatkuasakan kuota pekerja atau bakat asing bagi setiap syarikat berdasarkan kepada nisbah kebergantungan siling DRC yang berbeza bagi pelbagai industri. Bagi sektor pembinaan, 83.3% daripada keseluruhan pekerja syarikat berkenaan boleh diisi oleh pekerja asing, manakala sektor pemprosesan 83.3%, limbungan marin 77.8%, pembuatan 60% dan sektor perkhidmatan hanya 35% daripada keseluruhan pekerja sesebuah perniagaan boleh diisi oleh pekerja asing.
For the employment pass, we have now introduced Compass, which is a points-based system. So you look at individual capabilities, factors as well as company factors. So it factors both ways. So you can import talents. We are open economy, so I say we open free market. But I will look at A, your salaries, 2, your qualifications, 3, your company's diversity. If the whole company is like one type of nationality, tak jalan, you will lose points. If the whole company has certain skill sets requirements, of course you get certain bonus points. So we look at company requirements, we look at diversity, we look at local individual. So just four key points. You know how many points you score, you know the guy in or out, pass or fail. Very simple. Point-based system. So in the old days when we apply for EP, companies would tell us, hey, you know, we don't know why you approve or didn't approve. So it was quite not so transparent. So last year we introduced Compass, and I think it's been quite good for companies because now they can plan ahead. They know exactly how to score the points, or you lose points if you have too many of one nationality in one firm, for example. So you create diversity within your firms. So as an international hub, you have to then manage diversity and things like that. So we do. So that's one part. Then on top of that, we now have various passes like One Pass. That one gives top tier professionals at C-suite levels. Some of them are startup head CEOs or founders and so forth. So at that level, professionals at a certain tier, at a certain skill set, we give them longer term stay in Singapore, more access, dependents pass, your family can come and so forth. So there's certain privileges that are given to certain tiers. And of course there are specific other tiers like Tech Pass to bring tech talents into Singapore, for example.
Pun begitu, kesediaan dan keterbukaan berkenaan tidak hadir secara percuma. Bagi rakyat Singapura, ia bukan suatu tawaran yang boleh dibuat dengan harga yang murah.
So, of course, anytime you have migration of high-skilled workers, or anytime you have migration of any kind of worker, if that worker is competing with you for a job, of course you will feel not very happy about it, right? And I think Singaporeans are not different from anybody else anywhere in the world. When they see foreigners coming here and they're working in the same kinds of jobs as them, then they may be a bit worried. They may be asking questions like, you know, is this right, is this fair, and so on. So in order to moderate or manage this, we have a lot of policies that are designed to try to ensure that the employers basically look at Singaporeans first for any jobs, right? And the way we do that is we try to restrict the migration of foreigners, especially for the high-skilled jobs, only to areas where there is actually a shortage of Singaporeans, or areas where it is much more likely that they have the skills that the Singaporeans may not have in the same quantity or quality perhaps sometimes.
Malaysia juga berdepan cabaran yang hampir serupa. Dalam sidang Parlimen pada Julai lalu, Menteri Pelaburan, Perdagangan dan Industri MITI, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz berkata, Pelan Induk Perindustrian Baharu 2030 atau NIMP 2030 dirangka untuk menangani isu kekurangan bakat tempatan dalam sektor-sektor ekonomi tertentu. Antara lain, kerajaan mensasarkan 60,000 bakat berkemahiran tinggi dalam sektor semikonduktor dan menggerakkan usaha untuk membawa lebih ramai bakat warga negara yang tinggal di luar negara. Sempena Bulan Kemerdekaan Malaysia dan Singapura pada Ogos, mungkin ini masa yang sesuai untuk kita menghargai pencapaian masing-masing dan menjadi titik untuk kita berganding mengatasi isu yang menghantui pembangunan negara.
Whatever happens, right, we should be looking for ways to basically help each other, right, to make each other's situation better. And I think that's important because when we talk about the labour market, actually sometimes it will seem like, one side is benefiting at the expense of the other, and I think that's a problem. It's a problematic mentality. People are thinking that.
Melangkah ke depan, dasar dan tindakan perlu dinilai untuk memastikan bakat-bakat tempatan terus mendapat tempat dalam industri masa depan. Pada masa yang sama, ekonomi terus berkembang untuk menyumbang kepada kantong perbelanjaan kebajikan populasi yang semakin menua. Malaysia ada pendekatan tersendiri, Singapura juga ada cara tersendiri. Namun sebagai negara berjiran di rantau ekonomi kelima terbesar dunia, Malaysia dan Singapura perlu bergerak seiringan. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan Singapura, selamat Hari Kebangsaan dan dirgahayulah Malaysia. Laporan Irfan Faruqi untuk Astro AWANI.